Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Heal with Kat podcast. My name is Kat. I am your host, and welcome to a really exciting episode this week where I am hosting my friend, mother, CEO, and founder of Authentic Audience, Krista Ripma, on the podcast. I have been dying to have Krista on the podcast for a long time. I have been aware of Krista and Authentic Audience for probably a few years now. She was the woman behind all of the big spiritual entrepreneurs, podcasters, even women like Yoga Girl, Krista Williams, The Balanced Blonde. She was really a piece of the marketing, branding, and advertising of these women that I still look up to this day. And we got introduced by a mutual friend who said, I think you should work with her, which was an honor. And here we are a year later, coaching together, and Krista has truly become a friend. She is one of the most grounded and yet creative people I've ever met. She is a genius in the marketing, advertising, and community space online. This week in the episode, we talk about everything from spiritual devotion, Eastern philosophy, the intersection between spirituality and having a business. We also talk a lot about ChatGPT, AI, and the future of what integrating ChatGPT and AI looks like in a spiritual business. We talk about Mother Mary. We talk about all the things because that is just Krista, the yes and of owning a business in a spiritual space. So if you're an entrepreneur or you're somebody who knows an entrepreneur who's maybe adjacent to spirituality or in the spiritual space, you're going to want to send this episode to them. She is just going to blow your mind, and she's taken time out of her day. She's in the fourth trimester or the fourth, part of postpartum. And she took time out of her day to share this wisdom with us. And I'm just so grateful. So let's get into this week's episode, guys. Everyone, please help me welcome my friend, mother, CEO, and founder of Authentic Audience, Krista Ripma, to the Heal with Kat podcast. Krista, thanks for being here.
Finally.
Honestly, long overdue.
Long overdue. It's been in my heart for a long time, but timing is everything. So here we are. I'm so happy.
Well, and you just had baby Max in June, and we last chatted in June. And I feel like the women that we were in June, where are they? I don't know where they are.
Not here, tired, asleep.
Transformed, changed. Yeah. Just so what a freaking summer.
It's going by, it's like crawling and also going by so quickly. And it's just been I think just a really intense time for a lot of people. And I haven't really come out of the bubble yet. I'm still in the portal. And so I was talking to my friend yesterday. There's just a lot going on in the world. And she had mentioned something that had happened. And I was like, that didn't make its way into my news feed or news circuit, that whatever you're talking about, my energy is still sort of closed out,
As it should be, maybe after having a baby.
It was a conscious decision about 2 weeks before he got here to just I can't help you right now. I'm sorry, I cannot. It's carry the sticker, the Sex and the City sticker. I can't, don't hate me. But that's where I'm at. And so I'm slowly creeping out, and it feels good.
Well, I'm so grateful that you took time as you're coming out of your bubble to chat with me. And really, I just wanted to have you on, one, because you've been probably the most influential person in my business and in my life.
Wow.
And two, because you are truly the embodiment of business, badass, and spirituality. And there's so much that we can talk about that. And I think a lot of times in the spiritual space, a lot of people get lost in the sauce of what that is and who's in it and what the rules and the values and the boundaries are. And you have this effortless way of bringing forward what is really great for you to be a sustainable entrepreneur, make money, thrive in the world, and also live in your truth and share what's in your soul and your heart. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are about that as I say that, what comes up for you?
I think it just goes back to service. It's with the spiritual side of business, or with the spiritual businesses, which a lot of which I support, you still have a business responsibility. And I think when you decide, okay, I'm going to make this spiritual business or this woo woo business a business, then the energy of business comes into play. And for me, and so many of us like you, there's just this huge purpose or service around what we do. And so I think for me, like the intersection of spirituality and business is like service. And, how we do that really intentionally for our clients, for our customers, for God, and, just not forgetting that we're doing this in service to something bigger. And that for me is both spiritual and, you know, very deeply in service to my business, which is also something much bigger than me. So it's like both and.
I love that. I think there's a kind of a narrative that we're coming out of in the spiritual wellness industry of like, if you're in your service, give up all of your need for money and, do it for the good of humanity. And it's like that in today's economy doesn't fly with most people. They're like, I need to be in my service, but also pay my rent. Like a lot of people are bridging together the spiritual and the human in a more grounded and embodied way. And so I love that you're supporting women to be like, let's let you do what's in your soul to do, but also don't be afraid of the numbers. Don't be afraid of wanting growth. Don't be afraid of running an ad for something. It's not inauthentic. You just have to find your people.
Oh, 100%. And I think, a lot of us spiritual practitioners definitely took a vow of poverty in a past life. I totally believe that. And also, we are here in this life in a capitalist society at an intersection that is very exciting to be a part of between humanity and technology and all that is happening. And we're not in the Himalayas, renouncing all of our belongings. And so, what does it mean to be a spiritual practitioner, like a modern, spiritual person and householder? And so, that piece to me is about being prosperous in your dharma. And when you want to help more people and you can be in service to more people, the more money I make, the more people I can help. And so I really do think of it that way. And I want to be that conduit. I like trust myself to be that conduit. And so, I have a very successful and wealthy friend who has been around a lot of other wealthy people. And she always says, more money just makes you more of who you are. Like it's who you already are. And so if you already feel like you're in service and would be a really great conduit, then like, why would that abundance be a bad thing? How could it be? And then, just to cut all the prana out of it, Shiva loved money and worshiped money. And so do we.
Okay, so that brings up a great point because you have such a interesting story when it comes to Eastern philosophy and this whole tie-in of like service. What is your story? What is the foundation of these values that you have in your life? Like what brought you to this place where you can again bridge this spiritual and the human?
I mean, it's been quite a long journey. It's funny that you asked that because you and I have had some really, intimate conversations about my grandmother who likes to come through on my paternal side, and we've done a lot of work with her. And once again, she comes front and center because she really pushed me out of her heart when I was at like a really vulnerable stage in life. And so because of that, I was deeply seeking in terms of my spiritual practice, and deeply seeking for a guru, and deeply seeking for just, it all to make sense, because I was being told that, I wasn't like, it was the devil's doing, and, that kind of thing. It
Like
was like
religious
really,
programming.
oh yeah, it was really crazy. And so I found my way to Nepal, and I found my way through Hinduism and Buddhism, and honestly back to Jesus in the end of it all. And, isn't that ironic? She's rolling over in her grave. That I love Jesus. And so I work with Mother Mary, I work with Jesus, I work with Maharaji, like so many enlightened beings and saints. And it just all comes back to, for me, this just belief that I'm doing it in service to something bigger than myself. And it really shifted for me when I was in Nepal and we were sitting at the feet of these Shivanath Babas at the Pashupatinath temple. And let me tell you, these people have renounced everything. And I was talking about yoga in the West and just making money and all of this stuff. And he just sort of was like, Shiva loved money and we love money and we worship money. And Shiva wanted yoga on the tongue of everyone. And now it is. And it's just like this total paradox of like both and both can exist together. And so for my work, it really is always just existing together. When I'm tuned in and aware, like, of course I get stressed. Of course I let the numbers get the best of me. But, I have a mentor who's such a believer and she reads the Bible every day. I mean, she is just so devoted to her faith. And I see how it affects her success in both in business and in motherhood. And she just constantly reminds me God will continue to provide the right clients, the right people, the right team, the right opportunities. And having that like unwavering faith is really hard, but I've cultivated it. And it's taken a really long time. So it's this faith that's been cultivated over a long time. And through my OCD learning, through the historical data, that I can trust myself and that I am being taken care of. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm being shown that every day. And it's like crazy when you actually let go. I was just telling you before we recorded, I'm like quite a little workaholic. And with this new baby, I took some time and we had the most profitable month. And I'm like, if that isn't a Leela, I don't know what is, but yeah.
I love that. And I think it really just goes to show when we create space to receive, like when we create space to step back and kind of look at where our energy might be going a little too fast or maybe ahead of us or maybe it's imbalanced. I mean, when you're talking, what I'm really reflecting on is that I feel like modern spiritualism today is duality. It's like
Yeah.
embracing all of the things. And I learned this really interesting concept from Dr. Gabor Mate. And he said that as children, we will put people, situations, feelings, or things into black and white thinking or right or wrong thinking, because oftentimes that mirrors a chaotic childhood and chaotic brain development where we had to make sense of what was going on around us by putting things into buckets. But now, like spiritual and emotional maturity is making room for everything, seeing all of the sides, and then getting to decide what our truth is, and then aligning ourselves with people who also find that same truth. I think there's a lot of freedom in that.
I think you just, yeah, hit it right on the head with duality. And for me, as a Gemini, I've always had these two very intense sides to me, like the even what you're talking about, like the very deep, self-trusting, spiritual, um, you know, tuned in, and then the totally manic, everyone has the high road and the low road of their being, of their essence. And feeling really safe in the duality, I think has been a huge practice for me. And seeing how that duality shows up in business, shows up in motherhood. And when I really started to speak to my spiritual practice and lean more into, just that type of language in my business, it felt really authentic. Some people didn't get it. That's okay. And again, it's just like having that trust, but it felt more inauthentic to not share about it. I had a client that I was visiting once before COVID. I used to like go spend time with all my clients, which is just crazy that that was my life. But she was like, I can't believe how devoted you are. Like, I didn't realize you had such a deep spiritual practice until I spent time with you in person. And I was like, well, that's not very authentic. Like, why am I hiding this side of me? Like, am I afraid to be judged? Like, I don't know, what is it? And then I just started, creating offerings and using language and bringing it into my work. And then sure enough, like, these people, you start attracting your people that way.
Well, that's it. That really brings up for me is the pinnacle point where I found you because I was in this loop of I'm doing these things that feel so aligned with my soul. And where's the community? Like,
Mm,
why is it so hard? And part of that, I'm going to totally own this, was a need to be seen, like, and a need to
yes,
feel validated and important, which, like, I'm owning it because I'm giving everyone else permission to own it through me owning it.
we all want
Hopefully, we all want that. But also, you put so much effort and work into social media and your emails and figuring out all the logistics of how to run a business. And you get to the point where you're like, oh my God, like this is chaos.
that.
And
Mhm.
Brooke Novick from Access Mundi, she messaged me and she was like, I don't know why, but you need to talk to Krista Ripma. She owns this company called Authentic Audience. And at the time I was like, I'm not sure if I want to make that kind of investment yet. It's like a really big deal. And I'm also not sure what to expect. Literally 3 months later, Tyler says, Emery Hall is doing a book signing in at Jones and Co. in Boulder. Let's go. And I was like, yeah, let's go. And I walk in and you're literally standing right there. And I was like, okay,
And I
okay.
had been following you because, and this just really goes back to everything, because you were like asking me that anchor, that thread, and it's like truly, truly Maharaji for me, Neem Karoli Baba. I'm like a huge devotee, as is Brooke. And Maharaji has led me to the most incredible people. And I didn't even know that Brooke, when I did my microdose practitioner training with her, that she was a devotee until like one of the end slides. There was like a little picture of Maharaji, and I was like, of course, like I've never signed up for an online train. Like it was just, I was totally led. And then through her, she was posting about FCT, which is what you do and what I recently partook in, and had a whole experience with. And so there you were, like right in front of me. And it's like following these threads. And like when you're in that space, like especially with Maharaji, it's like so easy to be in service, to be in love. And when I'm in that state, like look at the energy that comes my way. And so keeping that mindset when you're stressed about the numbers or your emails or your password or the double authentication or whatever is like just keeping you from living your dharma, that's where we come in.
Yeah, tell us more about Authentic Audience. Tell us about your core values and what you do and how you support people.
Yeah, I mean, it just started in a really authentic way. I love storytelling. I went to school for film and communications. I thought I wanted to be a producer in LA. I went and lived there for many years and did that. But I was just like very much seeking and very much guided into this work. I started with Yoga Girl, launching that brand with her in 2013, and just realizing that this like heart led business was something that I really liked being a part of. And so, how to apply that to marketing and advertising and sales, no one was really doing. And so I wanted it to just be this like transparent way of self promotion, of selling your services, of doing it authentically, of doing it in community. And so at first, I thought it was going to be through yoga. I really, to this day, believe like the more butts on mats, the better the world. So it was like my mission to just get butts on mats. And so I started with yoga teachers, yoga studios, yoga teacher trainings. And then I just met so many cool female business owners through that process. And so it's just expanded now. We're a full service digital ad agency using AI, Meta, all these tools, all of this energy in service to like support these female business owners that have businesses from e-commerce, to meal delivery services, to family constellation therapy, and just everything in between. So, we work with really cool women to really elevate and amplify them through their digital marketing strategies. And a lot of them come to us pretty burnt out, and just pretty like, tired of having to feel like they need to know how to market in order to do their thing. So we really sort of come into play there with artists and thought leaders. We do book launches for speakers, and I love the launch energy. So that's like where I like to play. But yeah, we just do everything from paid ads to email and social in this pretty refreshing way, I like to think. And we've got a pretty badass team now. We've like scaled, we've grown, I've got investors. I now have a business club where we teach all this marketing. And it's just, yeah, it's a cool place to be a business owner, a cool time.
It is. I think, are you noticing that a lot of people that you help specifically in the spiritual space are shifting, transforming, changing? Are you noticing like anything specific amongst entrepreneurs in the last couple of years that stood out to you? Hey everyone, Kat popping in during the episode today to share that I have something so exciting to announce. I just launched a brand new series of meditations on Insight Timer, the world's #1 meditation app with over 31 million users. I'll be releasing 10 new meditations every month now through August. And the best part? They're totally free, including downloading the app. The guided meditations on Insight Timer aren't just about ancestral healing. They're designed to help you understand how inherited patterns, pain, fears, or choices show up in your everyday life, your relationships, your self-worth, parenting experiences, or even your health. Each one gently helps you untangle those threads so you can move forward feeling more grounded, clear, and connected. Just download the Insight Timer app, search my name, Kat Dow, or click the link in the show notes below. Make sure you're subscribed to my email newsletter to get updates every month on the new meditations coming to your phone soon. All right, let's get back to the episode.
I mean, yeah. Well, first, what happened was everyone went online during COVID. So there's now this like unraveling or this like hybrid situation that's occurring with businesses where their your digital presence used to be important, but then with COVID, it became everything. So people really put a lot of their time into that. Now I'm finding more and more brick and mortar places are popping up, like more in-person experiences, more membership communities that have in-person live, like, where you can see people and hug people again. And so for a lot of my clients, it was very much like an online world for the last few years. And so now I'm really noticing that pivot back into like retreats, like day-long events, even e-commerce clients partnering with and sponsoring other events with their product, and just this like people wanting to be together again in community. And the other thing I'm really noticing is people are really aware of where their money is going right now. And so when you can market yourself with like that founder forward sales, or, earning the trust or social proof, or like really proving your value, it's going to go a long way. I think people are just like hyper aware right now.
Yeah, and maybe hyper aware of their impact.
Yeah, I think that it's just, and also Gen Z is now here fully in the last few years in the buyer's market, with credit cards and jobs, and they're in their 20s, and I have them working for me. And I mean, that's been for me the biggest shift, is like welcoming Gen Z into my work environment. And I think with that, AI, and with that, the future, which is here, by the way. And it's just not something to turn away from or be afraid of. And it's funny to witness the people that are really leaning into that energy that is really new and really like young and vibrant and intuitive and fluid in all these ways that millennials just are not. So it's like really welcoming the next generation, I feel like, because we went into COVID, they were in high school. We come out of COVID and I'm hiring them. And so it's just like, it felt very like abrupt to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I would definitely say that like I've worked with a couple of just like independent people who have come on and off for my business that are Gen Z, and there's definitely, I would say, like an emphasis on like efficiency. They are
Yeah.
very efficient. They are not afraid of utilizing ChatGPT or AI to support them in things. But I also have never met a more outspoken generation. I actually have siblings who are Gen Z, and they're outspoken and they're resourceful and they're efficient. I personally have not seen a very negative side yet of that generation, although you hear it, but I've had a lot of really positive experiences.
Yeah, so have I. And I think that feels very new. And if businesses are not thinking about Gen Z like in the economy, from that standpoint, energetically, however you want to think of it, but they're here and they're buying and they're influencing the energy and the collective. And I've definitely witnessed that in my business. Like there's this like either leaning in or out of the future, and it's like impacting people.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on ChatGPT? I think I know, but I'm just curious, like, what are your thoughts on utilizing
So
it as a business
ChatGPT,
owner?
yeah, so I used it every day. ChatGPT was my doula, was my, like, I, during my pregnancy, uploaded all my blood work, all of my, like, symptoms, all of my, everything, the entire step of the way. And I think ChatGPT is what you make it to be. And I feel that my prompts have made ChatGPT incredibly efficient. And so when I use mine, like for example, I had a client who I was screen sharing and I was using my ChatGPT to build something, and they were like, our ChatGPTs are not the same. Like, how does yours have so much? And I'm like, because it has 2,000 prompts and entry points of me, And so that's something that is recent. With one of the most recent updates is now ChatGPT has a memory. And so anything that you have inputted, it is now pulling from. And so for me, that I value efficiency, and that's like incredibly efficient to be able to say, hey, from every strategy that I've put in here, help me create a business plan for this person. That's going to look so different than if you put it in your chat GPT, because it doesn't have like 2,000 hours of you. And so I am beta testing this product, and it's one of those things where I don't know how I really feel about it, but part of me is really excited. And it's basically a virtual twin of me, and it looks like me, it sounds like me, it would be like me talking to you right now. And what you put into this vault is like 2,000 hours of my podcasts, my business classes, my courses, my emails, everything I've taught. I have over 300 custom strategies I've made. And oh, by the way, I can answer in Japanese and Italian. And I will tell you, my sister's boyfriend, when he saw the Italian version of me giving him business advice, he died. Like, it was so good and really a great accent. But all of this to say, like, that version of me is actually smarter than me, because I can only pull from like my short-term memory, like what I have like right here. But that version of me is pulling from 2,000 hours of data to be able to give this answer that is me, but it's like a more articulate, smarter, data-driven version of me, which in theory sounds cool, and then in reality sounds terrifying.
Yeah, well, where's intuition come in with all of that? How do we balance that?
Great question. And so that has such a big role in my strategy, in my marketing, in how I connect with people. Like, I think the human is only going to get more important, with ChatGPT and AI in general. I think your human prompts, your human intuition, your human nuance, like people can feel it. It's what, you can tell when a paragraph is written by ChatGPT. You can feel the energy. And so, in terms of using it to write, I'll definitely have it work on tone and outline and things like that, but I never let it replace my voice or my musings or things like that. And so I think being really intentional in where you insert the human in your like very automated flows, because that is efficient. And I love technology, and I love that we get access to this kind of technology. And also, like, especially with paid advertising, like many pieces of my job or my business are going to be replaced by AI very soon, except for the human creative and strategy. And so design is going to become really important. We put a lot of emphasis on our design, on our aesthetic. Like that's what we're leaning into. On the strategy, where the human comes in. Like, how can you double down, like where the human fits in, and then double down on where you can be more efficient with AI and ChatGPT. And like for me, I've made so many strategies using ChatGPT and recording and transcripts that like it's going to spit out a more just a better strategy than I will. And so I'm like really using it together with myself. And so from an existential point, the fact that there could be a version of me that lives on that continues to give business advice in Japanese is like kind of cool, kind of crazy. It feels like the Wild West, like around regulations. I think it's really scary when people are trusting ChatGPT to be their therapist, or, I was watching a video with Sam Altman being like, it isn't private. And so like if you were to murder somebody and we're on trial, we could like pull your ChatGPT search, and like it's not private. And also, by the way, it's not always right. Like there's a glitch, and it's called a hallucination, which is pretty interesting. And ChatGPT will hallucinate and pull in completely random data, and it will totally skew. And so, like, having that self trust in your content, the more we have access to these tools, I think is just like the name of the game. Like, you have to be able to quiet the noise and at the same time keep up with what's moving if you want to be involved, if you want to be in it, which I do.
Yeah, I think what we all are facing right now is the inevitability of AI. It is here. It is already running a lot of our world. We've heard for so many years robots and AI, and when is it going to start getting integrated? And with the launch of ChatGPT, I feel like now every platform that you go on has Aura, or, Meta has it. Like everyone has an AI feature. And so like it's here. So how are we going to use it to enhance and make our world better, and use it as a means of support rather than to replace the human? And obviously it will replace some human things. That's just like where it is, where it's going. But I love being an Aquarius, and it's probably, we're both air signs, so we probably vibe on this
Aquarius
together. But
rising.
I love the individuation that ChatGPT brings. I love the evolution. I love the technology advancements, but I also don't want to lose the human. So I really like how you described that.
And I think similarly to money and abundance and financial success, like it just makes you more of who you are. So same thing goes with AI, like it just makes you more you. And so it's like actually allowing people to show their true colors. It's who you were always going to be with technology. Like you hand somebody a phone and they are who they are with that phone. And I always thought as millennials, we got access to Google, and some people like really went far with their access that they had at a young age to the internet. And some of us, didn't really jump on board. And it's the same thing with AI. And I like love being a part of, call it pop culture, call it like the current energies, but I want to be involved in like what's happening. I love being alive and like sporting events and just the energy of like all of these people collectively like caring about something and knowing about something and tuning into something, and I'm really intrigued by it. And so my husband was also like really early stages of AI and like of all of these types of tools, and so I feel like he was similarly with COVID, one of the first people to be like, oh, this is like very real, this is happening. And, so very early on when people didn't think COVID was real, he was like, oh no, this is like going to affect us for a very long time. And that's what he's been saying about AI. He's also an Aquarius.
Oh,
And so for me, it's like, how do I lean in now, like be an early adapter and like help steer the culture of it? Because it doesn't really have a culture right now. It's sort of just like the Wild West. And so I'm really curious to see over the next few years what regulations happen and, how it affects us. But for me, like having fear of it taking over my job or my mind or, any of that stuff to me is like, it's a waste of time. And like, obviously, it's our paradox. That's how I see the world. And so people are going to do really good with it and people are going to do really bad with it. And both are inevitable for sure.
it's like the analogy of like the knife. People use it to make beautiful meals and they also use it to kill people. It's like how you use
That's
it.
what it is. Yeah, and I think,
Yeah.
like, it's not about being afraid of the knife, it's being afraid of the person who's holding the knife,
Yeah. Yeah, for
And
sure.
so that's the same thing with AI, and there's a lot of data that's speaking to us having, like, in-home robots, every single person within the next 7 years, and I'm just like, "That's great." Like, do you know how much time I spend loading the dishwasher, Kat? Like,
Really.
I looked at my husband yesterday and I was like, all I do is load and unload the dishwasher. Like, it's all I do. So, again, going back to efficiency being really important, but then there's the spiritual side, and then there's that side that saves me and, is really the softening of the collective right now, which I also feel really strongly. Again, so I feel a lot of trust that this change in what's happening right now is like, it's for how we use it. It's for being in service. And, it's also really scary. And we have more access to everything, from like a news standpoint, but also from a business standpoint. It's like, oh, this already exists. Like somebody just came to me with this idea and she's so excited. And it's this app and it's her Dharma and she's so passionate about it. But she's like, I just realized somebody's already doing exactly. And I'm like, who cares? Like, close it out. And so I just think we have way too much access.
Mm. Well, it brings up something else really interesting I want to touch on because I think as entrepreneurs, many women struggle with performance. And you talk a
Yeah.
lot about soulful marketing, again, like finding that presence in your soul and what your soul is here to do. But I think many of us can agree that in the online space and now with ChatGPT increasing efficiency and increasing performance, like what would you tell women who struggle with that? I mean, because again, if you're using the knife the wrong way, it could breed this really pressurized performance culture that, we're all judging ourselves based on who gets ChatGPT usage better. And it's like, this is, I think, where the soul comes in.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to not judge ourselves and like create these like smart goals, for ourselves. And I'm constantly creating smart goals and like what is success and what is this. And I think what's really interesting for me and for a lot of women is we set these goals for ourselves. We hit them, we likely blow them out of the water, but we're already on to the next thing. And so, what has been incredibly beneficial for me is goalposts. And when I hit a goalpost, I have to stop and I have to celebrate it before I set the next one. And it's not for me about underachieving or never hitting the thing. It's about having the goalpost just be moving constantly. So, like, what is success this week, was totally different than what was success. Like, I'm already on to the next thing. And so, I think with all of this, just quickness in like output and deliverability and on to the next, especially as women. Like, even I just gave birth, I'm still in the fourth trimester, and I'm like, just already so far ahead. And it's like, how do we stay like with the future, with pace in our business, like energetically, like there, at the top of the wave, but then also just like have that trust to be here and be still and know that it's coming in time. And I think that's the piece of it, is like, we want it right now. We want it right now. And then we get it, but we already want the next thing. And I think being really just like over the moon with what you have in front of you is like my biggest like trick to manifesting the next thing, is like just being so happy. And like, if nothing else changed, and if I didn't get that next thing, like, I hit it, I did it, I have it. I'm here, it's like, I really have everything I need. And I think about that all the time. Like, if I'm just in the car with my family, and it's just like the four of us in the car, and sometimes we'll have the dog and the cat, and I'm like, really, everything that matters is right here. But we just like put this emphasis on numbers on a screen, and likes and comments and reach and data, which I love, and it's not my identity. Like, and I think really separating like my legacy offline and who I am to those people who truly know me and truly love me, while at the same time having these goalposts that are really important to me, and like hitting these success metrics for myself as a business owner, for my clients. And it's really having to find the balance, like really having to find the balance. But my shortcut is, thanks to my therapist, we need to pick a closer goalpost, is what she'll say. Cause I'm like so far out. It's like, no, we need to like pick a goalpost 1 week from now. What are we celebrating? Like, what is something smaller that when we reach that, we can stop and like actually take a breath. And that resets me in huge ways. And, I'm often exceeding these goalposts and still feeling not enough. So it's like, performance is a joke. Productivity is the biggest joke, because the more productive you are, the more work you're going to get, because the more productive you are. So it's like, imagine having 100 employees and 3 of them are incredibly efficient and productive. You're just going to give them more work. You're not going to be like, oh, you're so productive, take a vacation. So like, productivity is a joke. And so I think, especially as like high performing, high anxiety, type A, something to prove, eldest sister, disruptor women, like, capitalism loves us, because we're just going to keep going and keep working, and nobody's going to pay us anymore or give us a vacation. And we're just like, we forgot why we were working so hard. And so having those like moments where I have to come up for air and stop and be like, I achieved something, like, I'm doing it, I'm here, today is enough. It just brings me like way down to the ground, and I can just be, so far away.
I find that incredibly relatable. I think I'm always looking for the next vision, the next thing. And we've been doing coaching with each other for almost a year now. More than a year? It's been almost a year. And the one thing I will say that you've really helped me do is ground into the little celebrations and the little goalposts, because I'm like, okay, Krista, like, here's what have going on. Like, everything is always changing. I'm always like looking, and you're like, okay, but you have like 40 meditations. Like, are you kidding me? That's amazing. And I'm like, oh wait, yeah, that is really actually cool. So you're really good at bringing, I feel, for me, and hopefully your other clients feel this way too, but like, down into their bodies again. Like, how are you going to be fully present in your body so that you can bring these things that your soul is calling you towards into the world in a more grounded and present way, so that it can meet the people that it's meant to meet?
Definitely. And you're a visionary. I mean, so many healers and artists and creators are. And so like, the role that I truly like to play for visionaries is structure. I say like, I'll be the banks to your river, like, you flow. But if there's, strong riverbanks, you're going to flow a lot faster. Or like, can I remove like little pebbles so that you have like a clearer, shot here? Like, you're going to get there. And I think that's what a lot of people will give their power away to marketers or, coaches or whatever, thinking, oh, I can't get there without this. I can't get there without whatever. And this investment or this coach or this brand. And it's actually like not true. You're going to get there. Like, you're the flow, you are the river. But I really want and have seen ways to get there a lot faster and like sharper and smoother. And so using that analogy, people I think find a lot of trust because they still get to flow within the structure, but it can often be very scary for people. They don't want structure for many reasons. Oftentimes it's self-sabotage. You don't want to get there. You just want to complain about not getting there. And so it's funny because I've built so many strategies and I've worked with so many people, and you're one of the people that does what I say. And oftentimes when people come to work with me, I'll say, if you do what I say, it will work. And it's like, oh, ha, ha, ha. But it's like true. And so it's hard because, and why so much of what I do in coaching and marketing is mindset, because the strategy will 100% work. I have the data to back it up. I know exactly how to make your clients feel a way to click away and buy a thing. But if you don't have the mindset to create the thing, launch the thing, post the thing, it's just going to never get out there. And so the mindset has to be in place in order to take the action to execute on the strategy and like do the damn thing. And so when you do it, when you make that shift, which is like my favorite thing to witness as a mentor, is that shift of like, oh, I've really got something here and it's time to like step into service and get it out there to the people it's meant to be for. Then the magic happens. Then it flows. Then the leads come through and, you know, the dream podcast guest gets booked and the energy is there and the creativity flows. And so for me, it's like really that intersection of mindset and marketing where I get to come to life and like flow and be in space holding for you to flow. And it's like, if, you know, my gift is the messenger. I am a Gemini. Like I am here to help people express, you know, their art, their message, whatever, through these really cool ways that happen to have a lot to do with AI and technology. And so it's just, you know, all connected to me right now. And how we just like receive the information and what we do with it. And it's really fun to hold space for people with really big ideas. Like I get to watch things come to life, but it's so crazy because I've built a lot of strategies. Some of the best ideas I've ever heard never launched, never came to light. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it's like the strategy will work, but you're being tapped on the shoulder. You know, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this in Big Magic. Like these ideas come to us and it chooses you and it's tapping you on the shoulder saying, I want to come through you. I want this to be, you know, you to be the messenger of this thing. And if you don't do it, if you don't answer the calling, it's going to go to somebody else. And so you'll see like, oh, I had that book idea, or like, oh, I totally had that app idea. And then you'll see it and you're like, why didn't I, you know, I had that thought, I had that idea. And it's like, yeah, these energies choose you. And so like my real like existential like woo woo role in it is like getting to serve these energies that are choosing these people and help get that thing out that's so meant to be here, whether it's a product or a service or whatever. It's like, if you answer the call and actually like build the site, like you said, and set up the emails and do the damn thing and show up, it's kind of amazing where you get like when you're authentically in service to that thing that has been tapping you on the shoulder, it's keeping you up at night, you have these ideas and you decide to like take action, build the site, hire a strategist, invest in a brand, like really do it, it works. Like, you know, success is inevitable. You wouldn't have the idea, it wouldn't be screaming at you if it like wasn't meant to work through you. And so having that trust and getting to witness people in different like stages of that is so fun for me.
You're so good at channeling in the business coach sessions that we have too. Like, I just know that even if you're not saying, Spirit is saying this, it doesn't matter because you're literally just channeling what needs to come through. And that's how honestly, that's why I take it so seriously. One, because coaching is not cheap. Like, you're investing in yourself. You have to spend some money to make money at times in your business. And I've really learned that from growing up in a very entrepreneurial family. And so if I'm choosing to invest in myself and if I'm choosing to take time, not just money, but time out of my day to better myself with someone who feels so aligned, and you're taking time and energy out of your day to channel, to support, why wouldn't it be successful if it feels like the flow is there? And I will say that coaching with you, there have been so many moments where I've had to look myself in the mirror and be like, whatever belief you have around not being good enough or not being worthy or not, whatever it is, you have to put that aside right now and just take one step forward. Just rebuild the website and stop there. And then show Krista. Krista will give you feedback. And then you just take another step. Like, it doesn't have to be this big, huge thing all the time, I think, as an entrepreneur. And you're really good at that guidance piece of it.
Yeah, I mean, anything I can do, first of all, thank you for saying that. And like in terms of channeling, like what I'm doing and who I'm channeling is the energy of your business. And so like that is who I work for. And oftentimes my clients are in the way. They are like self-sabotaging or like, you know, totally like just in the way of this thing. And I'm like, can you just move? Because your business like has a lot of work to do. And so that's where the mindset comes in. But I really, before every session, like truly drop in Reiki, call in your business. Like, what do you need? Like, what is your mission? What is the vision? How can I help move this person along to really serve this thing? Because again, like you said, it isn't cheap. Like, I'm working with a coach right now. She's $775 a session, and it is the most valuable hour. Like, I turn around and like make so much more the months I book with her. Like, it's really incredible. I could scream mentorship from the rooftops. Like, if there is somebody that is living the lifestyle, has the business style that you love and that inspires you, like, coach with them. Like, I just can't say it enough. But the people that come through and want to coach with me, I know and I trust that they've been pulled to me because they like need this. And this is like, give them what they need, you know, allow me to open my heart so I open theirs kind of energy. And I really learned it from teaching yoga. I would literally step aside and just, I don't know what would happen, but I would just say, allow them to get what they need from this practice, like whatever needs to come through. I would never like practice my talks. It would just come out. And that's what happens with business often. Like I'll be listening to a replay and I'm like, I totally blacked out. Like I was really tuned in to their business and to that energy, and it's authentic and it's real and it's in service. And so it can't fail. Like it can't be wrong. You know, it's like when you're calling in your guides or your angels, like it's in the, you know, service to my highest good. Right. And that's what I'm doing for these businesses. So it's like what needs to happen for the highest and greatest good of the business, of the client, of the customer. And then adding that to a strategy, like it like lights people up, you know, and I don't have to say, oh, I channeled your business and I Reiki flowed you before this call and whatever for them to feel it. And so it's nice to hear you receiving it, you know, on the other side of things, because it's not normal. A business coaching session with me is not normal, but it's definitely, I think, more data driven than people might imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. And also what we were talking about earlier in the episode, so well balanced between the data, the numbers, and the spiritual too.
It has to be all of the things. And I think that's one of my biggest lessons as a Gemini in accepting I can be all of the things. Like I can be a mother, I can be a disruptor, I can be a business owner, you know, and I can take on all of the different like outrageous energies and identities that like want to be alive in me. And I pushed them down for so long, and helping other people sort of unlock those like authentic sides of themselves and then express that into their business is just so fun because people can feel it. It's authentic and the truth sells, and that's that. So if you just start telling the truth, rip off that band-aid of self-doubt and realize like I am here to serve something bigger. And even this podcast, like I didn't have time to do my makeup. I didn't have time to even get dressed today. And nobody is listening to this and nobody is paying me to look good. Like it's just not that's not how I show up in service. So instead I dropped in, I took 5 minutes, I channeled the listeners, I tell them what they need, give them what they need, like allow me to just be present in service in this hour. And I will say from like a right brain side, it's creating space, etc. From a left brain, it's time blocking. So it's like, you can look at everything in like it's perspective. I think about my mornings like that all the time. Like, I can think about waking up covered in like breast milk with this like sticky, like little 8-pound man like in my ear before the sun comes up. Or I can like wake up to my son as the sun rises. It's like, it's the same moment. It's just perspective. And so that's been my biggest lesson lately is like, not a lot has to shift except your mindset and perspective for like everything to look different.
You're the sacred rebel. You're just, that's when I look at you, I'm just like, Krista is like the Joan of Arc of spiritual businesses, just like the sacred rebel.
Sacred rebel. Man, I mean, I'll take it. Like I feel so seen in that because you're so tuned in and you're so authentic and you're so, in alignment that who you call in for your business, like is going to be like same, no, same, So when people will say to me like, oh, I'm so inspired by you and this and that and the other, and I'm like, well, same, no, same, like you're feeling that because you have that. And so, yeah, it's just fun to have these connections. And I never thought this would be my life. And this is never what I thought of when I thought about business. And that alone feels disruptive. We're doing something different here.
Yeah. Oh my God. I feel like we could keep talking for like literal hours.
I love your podcast. Thank you for having me.
You're my Shep Gordon. So if you wanted to talk for 3 hours, we would talk for 3 hours. But I know you're
I mean, Shep Gordon is one of the nicest things. If no one knows who Shep Gordon is, that's one of the nicest things anyone could say to me.
Well, if you've listened to the podcast this week, guys, and you are just entranced and like in love and feeling in alignment with what Krista is sharing and all of the just the wisdom that we've received today. Krista, tell us where people can connect with you, where they can find you. What are some of the easy entry points that people can find you in your business?
Well, I show up most consistently these days just on my Instagram and on our email list, but anything related to the agency is Authentic Audience. And for the marketing membership is the Authentic Business Club. But all of that is just on our site. It's on my Instagram. DM me. Like I said, I'm a Gemini, so I like respond to DMs and emails. I like love, someone sliding into the DMs. It's how I've also met a lot of amazing people. So just reach out. I think that's also just my biggest advice. Like if there's somebody that you're resonating with, like tell them and, get more of that. And, you can call in more of that energy. So yeah, Kat is doing amazing work and her business just like responds. It's like you shift back into that service space when we meet and your business like sort of lines up accordingly. And so it's just really fun to witness. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, I love you. Thank you so much for coming on, guys. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. If you like what you heard, please support the podcast and our growth by rating, subscribing, and reviewing it. And even share this episode with someone in your life who is a sacred entrepreneur looking for a little bit more support in their business. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.